Okay, so for today's lesson, what we're going to do is we're going to deal with trig ratios and finding the missing sides. So in order to do this, you have to decide which trig function to use. You need to then set up a proportion. You're going to cross multiply and solve, and you're going to round sides to the nearest hundredth. Hundredth happens to be 2 decimals. When you use the trig function, you have to use SOHCAHTOA. Don't forget SOHCAHTOA, SOHCAHTOA. Okay, so opposite hypotenuse, adjacent hypotenuse, opposite adjacent. So you want to be able to label the sides that you are given or a side that maybe you don't know. But if the side is left blank, don't do anything with it. So we've got to have the this first picture here, and we've got the angle that's 36 degrees. So 36 is our reference angle. Then the x value happens to be the side opposite 36, and the 8 happens to be the hypotenuse. This would now be a sine function. So then what you would do is you would say the sine of 36 degrees equals the opposite x over the hypotenuse, which is 8. Again, it's always a good idea to make a proportion. And proportions you solve by cross multiplying. So when you cross multiply, exactly what you see on the cross multiplication has to get typed into your calculator. Don't forget, your calculator, in order to do trigonometry, has to be in degree mode. So let me get the calculator up here. Let's get rid of this piece. In the calculator, your mode has to be down in degree, because when we deal with triangles and do with the angles of a triangle, there happen to be angle measures. So we're in degree mode. Once it's highlighted on degree, second mode to go back to your home screen. And when you cross multiply, what you're doing is the sine of 36, you need to close your parentheses. It's got to take that decimal value and multiply that by 8. So here's the answer. 2 decimal places to round means you look at the third decimal place, and that third value, the 2, means you leave the 0 where it is, and the answer becomes x equals 4.70. And that's the value for x. If you take a look at the next problem, same idea. Take a look at your reference angle. The reference angle is 50 degrees. Well, the 5 happens to be the adjacent side to 50 degrees. The x happens to be the opposite side. So this is an O and an A, which happens to be tangent. So the tangent of the angle degree of 50 happens to equal, whoopsie. So the tangent of 50 equals opposite over adjacent. Again, make yourself a proportion. And when you go to cross multiply, you're then going to get x equals, let's try that again. Hold on. Okay. Let's try that one again. X equals, and when you use your calculator, and then you do, clear that out, and then you do tangent 50, close up your parenthesis, multiply that by 5, you get the answer of 5.958 or 5.96. Okay. Next one. So our reference angle here then becomes 76. The 70 happens to be the hypotenuse. Yes, it's adjacent, but it's not the adjacent side. It's opposite the right angle. The x happens to be the adjacent. This is going to be a cosine. So cosine of 76 degrees equals a over h, x over 70. Get up your proportion, cross multiply. X equals cosine of 76, close up your parentheses, multiply that by 70, round that to the nearest tenth, it's going to be nearest hundredth, it's going to be 16.93. Let's keep on trucking. This next one, 45 degrees is the angle that we're looking at, and 24 is opposite. Hypotenuse is x, it's a sine function. Sine of 45 equals O over H. Set up a proportion. Now this one just looks a little bit different because now the x is on the bottom. So you still cross multiply and solve. Not a big deal. When you cross multiply, you're going to get sine 45 times x equals 24. Well, x is not alone here. How do you get x alone? Well, it's being multiplied by the sine of 45. So if you divide both sides by the sine of 45, you're going to end up with what x equals. So x equals, calculator, clear this up, 24 divided by sine 45. Round this again to the nearest hundredth, 33.94. Is that it? I think that might be it. Okay, so that's it. So at this point, you should be able to get your homework done. Good luck.